Hi guys, welcome back to my channel ArtsyPutsy with me Putsy, and for today's video it's going to be another foundation review slash first impression slash wear test of this Ordinary Coverage foundation. And if you want to know my thoughts on these foundations, just keep on watching. So like always, before we jump right into the application, I'm going to mention what it is, the price and all of that. And this is the Ordinary Coverage Foundation from the brand The Ordinary. I'm very excited to try this foundation. I have high hope for this foundation just because I really love The Ordinary skincare. And if you want to know my review of The Ordinary skincare products, I'm going to link that video up here and also down below. I tried a bunch of The Ordinary skincare products and so far I really like a lot of their products, so I have high hope for this foundation. They have two different foundations, which is the serum foundation and this one, the coverage one. I'm very interested to try this, but it's very hard to get my hands on this foundation because a lot of the shades just keep out of stock and I have to wait a very long time until it's restocked, and then once it's restocked it sells out rather quickly, so it's a mission to get this foundation. And it retails for $11.90 US. It's not very affordable, but it's not like high-end product. I mean, it's The Ordinary, their products are very affordable. It's around the same price range as the Maybelline and L'Oreal, I think. When this first arrived, when I look at this foundation, I was like, oh my god, it's so small. It's come in this tiny little bottle, but when I look it up, it actually has the same amount of product as other foundation I have from the drugstore, like the Wet n Wild, Catrice foundation, the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless, the L'Oreal Pro Matte. All of the foundation have the same amount of product, which is 30 milliliters or 1 fluid ounces of foundation. So for comparison, I'm just going to quickly show you the bottles. This is the Maybelline Fit Me, this is the Wet n Wild Photofocus foundation, and this is the Ordinary Coverage foundation. All of them has the same amount of product, but look at the packaging. It's so small, which is why I quite like this packaging. I don't know if it's going to be good or not, obviously, because I never tried them, but for traveling purposes, I think this is the right foundation to travel with. It's so small, it doesn't take a lot of space. It came in this plastic bottle, which is quite good for traveling purposes, obviously, because it won't be as easy to break as the glass bottle. And it comes with a pump, which is amazing. I really like a foundation packaging that has a pump like this. It has a lock system, so you have to turn this. See, foundation doesn't come up. If you turn this right here, you can pump this out. And this part right here is like a rubberized finish. It's have a soft matte touch finish to it, and the rest of the design is just the same as the other Ordinary skincare products. It comes in 21 shades. Compared to some other drugstore foundation, it's quite good. They have quite a lot of shades, but it's still not enough, obviously. I hope this foundation came in like 35 or maybe even 50 different shades, but it's still better than a lot of different drugstore foundation that only has like 5 to 10 different shades. And they also have different undertones. P and R, which is pink and red, is to indicate that the foundation has a cooler undertone. If it's N, then that means neutral undertone. If it's Y, like what I have, means yellow undertones or warm undertones. And they also have PS or YG, S to indicate silver highlights and G to indicate gold highlights. And I'm just going to read out some of the claims from their websites. They claim this foundation to be a full coverage foundation. They contain higher pigment levels than their serum foundation. So I think the serum foundation has lighter coverage, while this one has, I think, medium to full coverage, but they said this has full coverage. We'll see. But they still offer a smooth finish that avoids the heavy makeup look that can make skin appear more aged. A lightweight and non-oily cream texture. They claim to look natural on the skin without setting into fine lines, and they're supposed to last quite a long time on the skin. I have very oily skin, and they said this has a semi-matte finish and non-oily cream texture, which I think I will probably like this, so I hope. They offer an SPF 15 claim, and they don't use a chemical sunscreens, they only use physical protection from titanium dioxide. So from some of the claims, I think I will like this, and I'm in a shade 2.Y, which is medium with yellow undertones. I think it will be a little bit too dark for me, but we'll see. So for comparison, this is the L'Oreal Pro Matte Foundation in 106 and Beige. This is the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Foundation in 220 Natural Beige, which is a perfect match for me. And this is the Wet n Wild Photofocus Foundation in Golden Beige. But this kind of oxidizes a little bit, so it gets a little bit darker than this after it sets down. This is the Catrice HD Liquid Coverage Foundation in Light Beige, and this is the Ordinary Coverage Foundation in 2.1Y. As you can see, it's a lot darker than all of them. So I think the perfect shade for me will be 2.0 YG. So yeah, for the application itself, like always, I'm going to apply the foundation with two different applicators. The right side of my face, I'm going to use this beauty blender. I'm sorry, both dirty because I just used them yesterday. But yeah, but for the right side of my face, I'm going to use a damp beauty blender, and for the left side of my face, I'm going to use this brush. This is from Real Techniques. It's their sculpting brush. I always use this for foundation. It works pretty well for me, and I haven't have any skincare products before this because that's what I like when I try out foundation for the first time, because some foundation works differently on top of skincare products. So I'm just going to test this out without any skincare products underneath, but I'm going to use primer, and this is the Maybelline Baby Skin Pore Eraser Primer. This is fairly new to me, but I quite like this, so I'm just going to use this. My skin easily gets red. And shake before use, so I'm going to shake this first. Turn this around, and I'm going to apply to the back of my hand first. I'm going to apply one palm first. I'm going to apply this to my right side of my face first using a damp beauty blender. Yeah, I think it has a pretty good coverage, and it's not too dark on my skin, but I think it's a little bit too dark for me. Maybe I should have gone with the 2.0 YG, but that one was sold out when I bought this, so I currently have like a very big cystic acne here because I'm on my period right now, so my skin is going a little bit wild at the moment. Oh my god, I forgot I forgot to mention my skin. So before I continue with the application, I'm just going to quickly mention I used to have a very oily skin, but I don't know if you have seen my PCOS video, but I have PCOS, which is why I have very problematic skin and I have very oily skin. But since I treated my PCOS, my body's just getting a lot better now. I feel like I don't have as many acne as I used to, and I don't have as oily skin as I used to. The only part where I have really oily skin is only on my T-zone, but on the rest of my face, it's still pretty oily, but it's not as oily. It's like normal to oily. And there's some parts where it's really dry, like here, the side of my nose. So I notice on my face, it's not very full coverage because I can still see a lot of dark pigmentation and redness, especially around here. And also it doesn't really cover up my acne here. It's still really noticeable. And obviously around my acne and around my nose area is really dry at the moment, and it doesn't look very good on those areas. So I don't think if you have a very dry skin, I don't think you will like this foundation very much because it kind of clings onto those dry patches. I'm just going to apply the left side of my face with a brush. I'm going to apply the same amount of product, which is a pump. I'm going to zoom you in a little bit so you can see the difference. I don't know if you can tell, but the coverage looks very different on both sides of my face. As you can see, this side with the damp beauty blender looks a lot more sheer than this one. I mean, you can see on my under eye and cheek area, it still looks pretty red, and you can see my under eye very noticeable there. In here, you can see it's like light full coverage. Like full coverage. It cover up a lot more on this side with the brush than this one. And I feel like with the beauty blender, it looks more matte than this side. This side with the brush looks a little bit more dewy. I don't know. Can you tell? But I don't know. I can tell. It feels kind of tacky a little bit. Like it's not completely drying down yet. Even on this side, I can still feel that I have something on, especially on this side. For some reason, it looks and feels a lot more dewy than this side. It does feel lightweight, especially on the beauty blender side, and it doesn't really look like a mask on my face, which is really nice. Especially the longer it sets, the more it looks like my skin. But I don't know, for some reason I like this side better, because maybe because of the finish of it. I don't really like a dewy foundation. So as you can see, the two sides has a very completely different finish and coverage. I'm going to apply some more to this side with using a brush, and then I'm going to blend some more with a beauty blender. So based on first impressions, I really like how this looks on my forehead and on my cheek area. It has a pretty nice coverage. It's not very full coverage on my skin. It's because I have a lot of redness and dark pigmentation around my face. But I don't really like how this looks on top of my acne scars around here. I don't know if you can tell, but the acne scars on my right side of my face, it's a lot bigger and a lot more prominent than the left side. Yeah, my left side looks a lot better, not just because of the brush, and I can tell that it doesn't really smooth out the skin. And I don't really like how this looks on the side of my nose, because it's the most dry area on my face, and it kind of cling onto the dry patches around my face. And as you can see also around my acne here, it just doesn't look really good. It won't stick onto my skin. It just clings onto the dry patches, and it doesn't smooth out the skin. It kind of sits on top of it, and it doesn't blend in very well, and the foundation kind of skips in some parts. But I really like how this looks on this side of my face, because I don't really have a lot of problem around there. It doesn't feel heavy at all on my face. I don't have a very prominent smile line, so I cannot tell you, at least yet, how this looks on fine lines and all of that. It does look like skin, and it kind of make my skin looks healthy and glowy from the inside. It's not very dewy, but it's not matte at all. It doesn't have a semi-matte finish like the claims, but it does kind of makes my skin looks healthy, so that's good. It doesn't smell. I don't know if it's going to oxidize or not, we'll see. But yeah, I'm just going to finish up the rest of my face, and I'm going to be back. So I'm back. I already finished up the rest of my makeup, and before I say goodbye for now, I'm just going to quickly mention I really like how my makeup turned out. Everything sits nicely on top of the foundation, the powder, the bronzer, the blush. I put on a little bit of highlight. I really like how it looks after I set the foundation with the powder. The concealer blends in nicely. Yeah, after I set this down with the powder, it looks more matte now. It has a pretty nice coverage. I don't know if you can tell. You probably can tell from the camera, because in real life it looks slightly darker. I just wish it doesn't oxidize it on me, because if it doesn't, I think with a little bit of bronzer on my neck, it looks pretty fine. So it's like a love-hate relationship for now, because while I do love this foundation, I don't like how this looks in some parts of my face. But so far, I really like this. And yeah, I'm going to film another videos. I'm going to eat, and I'm going to check back on you in a few hours. And oh yeah, it's 11:26 now, and and I'll give you an update in maybe 6 hours. Maybe, we'll see. But yeah, I'm going to be back with an update for you guys. So I'm back with my final thoughts. It's currently 7 p.m. So basically the foundation has been on my face for around 7 hours. I don't usually put on my foundation for more than 8 hours anyway, so I think this is going to be the first and final update. I don't know if you can tell, but my face looks very oily right now. The oiliness of my face already peeking through a lot, but the foundation itself still there, still on my face, and if I look like from a little bit far away, it looks fine. It looks really nice still, but if I look closely into the mirror, I can see where it's starting to break apart, especially around the area where I have a lot of textures and acne scars, like around my cheek and also around my forehead, which usually my least problematic area, and the area where I have a lot of dry patches, like the side of my nose and on my acne here. It doesn't look pretty at all. It looks really bad. I can tell that the foundation really clinging onto those dry patches. It doesn't really blend well into the skin, but in here it still looks really nice. It looks flawless, and my lipstick is already gone, but yeah, I'm sorry about that. But I can tell that it doesn't really rub off quite easily because I wear glasses all day today, and I don't really remember which foundation it was. I think it was the Catrice or the Wet n Wild one. When I wear glasses, when I have that foundation on, when I take off my glasses, I can tell that there's a lot of foundation residue on my glasses, like on this part. Today I look at my glasses, there is a foundation residue left on my glasses, but not much. It didn't completely rub off. So my final thoughts are: the pros, the packaging. I really like the packaging. It's so small, it's very easy to travel with. Overall, 9 or 10 for the packaging, and the price is quite nice. I quite like the shade, even though it is a little bit too dark for me, but I really like the undertone. It's very lightweight. I don't really feel like I put on a heavy foundation. I quite like the coverage. It's not full coverage on my skin. It's like a medium high coverage, but it covers up really well. Like, a lot of my redness doesn't really peek through, especially when I put on the foundation with a brush. So my suggestion is, if you have a lot of redness or you want to make this foundation full coverage, just use a brush first and then smooth out the foundation a little bit more with beauty blenders. I really like the way it looks on my skin in parts where I don't have a lot of texture. So while I love this foundation, there's also major cons to this, which is it doesn't really look good on top of dry patches and dry area and acne and textures, because it kind of accentuates the textures a little bit, like around my chin and around my forehead. I can kind of see like all the lines on my forehead. I like the finish. It's not completely matte. It has a little bit more dewiness to it, on my skin at least, but when I set them with powder, it looks like a natural looking matte, and it kind of makes my skin looks a little bit healthier. For the lasting power, it's quite well. For 6 hours, it's not too bad, because on 4 hour marks it doesn't really look too oily. So if you have like slightly dry or normal to oily skin, I think you will really enjoy this foundation, especially if you don't have a lot of textures on your face. I think you will really like this. But yeah, for that reason, I'm not going to give this foundation an A, but I think I will give this foundation a B, because it doesn't really look good on top of dry patches and all of that. But overall, I really like this. So yeah, I think B is appropriate for this. So yeah, that's my final thoughts, final review of this foundation. I hope this video can be helpful to you, and I hope you enjoy this video. And if you do, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and maybe subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys. Export. Without